Hey everybody, it's Allie Edwards, and I am back with another Project Life spread. This is week 23 in my 2024 9x12 Project Life album. I am starting this one by pulling out elements from the June Stories by the Month kit. This is the first week in June. And I'm also pulling out some pieces that I have in my bridge storage. And if you want to learn more about that, you can check out my stash class to hear me talk about how I'm trying to organize my stuff. But that half circle there is from a scrapbook kit, one of our quarterly scrapbook kits from this year, maybe the frames one, I can't remember. I'll look that up and have the right one in the supply list. When I am going through a kit like this, like here you can see I'm pulling out the different pieces from the June Stories by the Month kit, kind of trying to see, what do I want to do with this one? Is there some things that I would like to repeat here? And as I was going through, I started specifically looking at the vellum pieces, and I was like, what could I do with the vellum? And one of the things that I've done recently in a couple Project Life spreads is adding vellum to the outside of my photos. And so I was thinking about that as I was looking at all these, and I was like, what if I do that on top of all of my 4x6 photos in the spread? What if I add vellum pieces to the top and have them fold up, and then potentially on top of those vellum pieces I could have some more of the half circles, and then I have these fun scalloped cards that are from the frame scrapbook kit that I cut out of a 12x12 paper. I also added in another piece of vellum that was from a previous release to go with those June vellum pieces. And these are the frames, 3x4 frames that I cut out from the scrapbook kit paper. So when I'm designing the quarterly scrapbook kits, I am definitely including shapes and things that can be cut up and used in other kinds of projects, just like this one. So here I'm cutting out the half circles. I'm going to pick 4 of those out. Of the big collection of half circles. Again, those are all cut from a 12x12 sheet of paper. And what the little design repetition, or the repeated design that I'm working on here, or the formula, we can call it that, is that I have the piece of vellum, a 4x6 vellum, and then I have the half circle on top of it, and then I'm going to add chipboard on top of that. So these are chipboard pieces from the June Stories by the Month kit. You will also see later on in the process, I actually pull the chipboard up and I end up stamping on those half circles, repeat stamping. So you'll see more of that later on in the process. They would have been totally fine to just stay white, but I had fun playing with them. One of the chipboard pieces I decided to add on a word phrase sticker that's also from the June Stories by the Month, and I'm just sticking it right on there. It just says currently. I had also pulled out the repeated June Stories card that's going to go behind my weekly title card. So here I'm pulling out the date. I'm going to stamp the dates for this particular week, and then my transparent week 23 title card is going to sit on top of that. Those title cards are available as a free download if you go back to my January Project Life spread, my first Project Life spread for 2024. Okay, so at this point in the process, I'm thinking about adhering, and I'm thinking about how am I going to get these on there. What I found in another recent spread that I had done is that the red line tape works really good to create a flip up. So I'm using, I think this is like quarter inch red line tape, and I'm doing just one line along the top, and then this will be adhered directly to the outside of the page protector. And then I'm going to crease a fold in it so that it is able to flip up to reveal the photo underneath. So this is a really fun way to play with some of the vellum in the kit, to play around with the concept of creating flip ups where you're not sacrificing, anything from your photo. You're not covering up your photo, within the pocket itself. You're not adding a bunch of embellishments on top of the photo. The photos get to live on their own, and all your viewer or you has to do is simply flip up to reveal the photo underneath. So I thought this is a fun way to play with the vellum. It's kind of that idea too of going all in on a design idea and repeating it on each one of the of those 4x6s. So you can do this once in a spread, which is what I've done in the past, or you can go all in like I'm doing here. And this was it just felt fun. And I think that when I come across this particular spread in my Project Life album, I'm always going to feel like it's fun. I think that's probably what's going to happen. So again, going through on the process, adding the red line tape, and then folding it up. So taking a little bit of fold. I do use a bone folder to fold some of those, and you'll see a little bit more about that, I think, later on in the process. Sometimes when I flipped them up, I did need to add more adhesive underneath the half circle. So that's something to just pay a little bit of attention to. But again, this is getting adhered on the outside of the page protector. So playing around a little bit more with that idea of building things that are not necessarily all in the pockets, which is a perfect option if you are somebody that wants things in the pockets. That can also be done. But if you're wanting to kind of take it, I don't know if I want to say up a notch, but it's not really even that. If you want to just take it farther and play around a little bit and give yourself a chance to use up some of those supplies that you may have in your stash, this can be a really fun way to do that. And it's a great use for the vellum that we have in those Stories by the Month kits, or the vellum that you might have in your stash. So I repeated the same thing on the other side using the red line tape, and then I'm going to start adding on some context onto my journal cards. And I am using a Kuretake brush pen. These have become a major favorite for me. You could stamp these titles, you could use letter stickers for these titles, you could print onto these cards, lots of different things that you could do. I'm going bold with a title, so I'm looking at each one of the photos. I've got the peonies are under that vellum on that row. This one says last day of freshman year, so it's a photo of Anna and some friends. Then I've got some power washing that I did outside. I was really big into the power washing this year, or pressure washing, I guess is what I wrote on there. Definitely playing around too. You know, I mix my uppercase and a little bit of cursive in there, and then I'm going to be adding additional journaling down below under each one of those with a different pen. So varying the weight of my pens from a title to the actual story itself. So finishing that one up there. One of the things I found with these Kuretake brush pens, I've been using them quite a bit over the last, I don't know, year or so maybe. And they're definitely one of those things where the more you practice your own handwriting with them, the more you find ways that you will like to write. Handwriting for me has always been a practice thing. I was practicing when I was in high school. I just have always loved handwriting and always loved letter forms, and it's just another one of those things that the more you do it, the more you will become comfortable with your own handwriting voice. We've talked about that before, of your storytelling voice, but it's kind of the same thing with your handwriting voice. So the more you practice, the more comfortable you'll get with it, and the easier it just flows. The secondary pen that I'm using here is a Lumocolor. Let's see, what is the name of that? I'll put it in the supply list too. It's a permanent marker. This is the fine tip Lumocolor. It's from Staedtler, S-T-A-D-T-L. I can't spell right now. You guys, it'll be in the supply list. But I'm going along and I'm just doing the same thing. And I love repetition. I know that this is not a surprise to many of you that have been following along, but if you are new here, repetition is one of my most favorite design elements. And it's just such an easy way to keep things simple and to not have to reinvent the wheel with each card. It can be just such an easy way to complete a spread, to get the story told for the week by having consistency with your journal cards. I don't do this every week. I have lots of weeks where I have a mix of journal cards and I'm playing around with that, but this is simply another way to approach it, another idea that you could bring into your own documenting and your own memory keeping. I also like to underline my journaling. That's something that you're going to see here. That just is, can't stop. Just going to keep doing that forever. So now I've got all those journaling cards done. And this is where I looked at it and I was like, am I done? Am I done? Do I want something else on here? And what I decided is that I wanted to look through my stamps. I just did a big stamp reorganization also as part of the stash class. And I decided that I wanted to do repeat stamping. And so what I'm doing here is I'm sacrificing one of these half circles and using it to create a template. So I'm using a craft knife to cut out the inside there of that shape so that I can use it as a stencil, and I'm going to stamp over the top of it. I will be removing the chipboard pieces that I did already adhere down. That's okay. And then I'll be re-adhering them back down onto there with red line tape. So here you can see pulling it off. I'm going to use StazOn. There's a little bit of adhesive that's on those, but it didn't really matter. I didn't find that it mattered at all when I did my repeat stamping. So sometimes sometimes when I do repeat stamping, I'm literally like just doing it all over the place and I'll cover things up. In this case, I kind of tried to make a little bit of a pattern. I'm using a stamp that is part of the Around Here stamp set, which was a Story Kit stamp set, I believe from last year. I think we did Around Here last year. Was that this year? I don't know. You guys have to, I can't remember these things. So I'm going to go ahead and continue doing that. And I did it once, and then I definitely had a better sense of the pattern. This little stamp in and of itself is pretty fun for making a pattern because it's got some variation in the width, so you can tuck it in around each other. And so that's what I'm going to keep doing there with the rest of these stamps. I'm just going to repeat stamp. Basically, I did one row at a time, or one column at a time, right? You can see where I'm going from top to bottom or bottom to top, making those vertical lines, and then adding in the stamps around there. And sometimes I needed to go back in and add a little bit of an extra one because I liked how they would look like they're going off the edge a little bit, but still be tucked in inside the frame of the half circle. So simply repeating those same tasks over again here on the second page. Yep, stamp, stamp, stamp. There we go. Stamp, stamp, stamp. So fun. I love the pattern that this creates. I love the text on there. Those are all things that I really like. I just like black text too. And so this brings in a little bit more of the black text. You could also take those half circles and create frames out of them by cutting out the inside and play around with that idea, maybe using transparency on the inside or something else as well. All right. This is a wrap on, what were we here? Week 23 for Project Life 2024. I think the last thing that I did on here is I took a little 1-inch circle punch, and I did this on another, I might have done this in a spread in the stash class, but I love the look of having a little half circle punched out of the vellum. It just kind of shows again that it's something to lift up. You could add sticker tabs or something like that along the edges too if you wanted to emphasize that a little bit more. All right, let me know if you guys have questions in the comments below.